Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. We are going through the book of Numbers right now, and today we're going to do a whole chapter. This is chapter 25 of Numbers. This is dealing with the Israelites stepping into idolatry. This is the first time they have, well, not the first time they stepped into idolatry, but this first time they're involved with the worship of Baal. So, and you're going to see how God deals with this, and you're going to see one guy stands out, and it's entitled today, "He was zealous for my honor." You're going to see how that one guy stands out and puts an end to the plague that happened because of the punishment God allowed to happen to the Israelites because they were involved with this idol worship. Okay? So we have just concluded that whole big thing with Balaam and how Balaam had ended up blessing the people. Balaam, however, wasn't finished, and if you continue on reading through the book, you'll find out Balaam realized he can't curse them, but he sure could advise the wicked kings in how to get the Israelites in trouble, and that was by introducing idol worship into it. And what a better way to do it than have a woman, and so the woman would deceive the men, and so that's what happened here. And you're going to see how that plays out into today's passage here. This is taken today from Numbers chapter 25. All right, so let's read here today. It says this in Numbers 25: While Israel was staying in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with the Moabite women, who invited them to the sacrifices to their gods. The people ate the sacrificial meal and bowed down before these gods. So Israel yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor, and the Lord's anger burned against them. Okay? So the neighbors, which would be the people from Moab, came along and they invited the men. Hey, and they were, who knows how they were dressed, but they were inviting the men into sexual intercourse. And when they did that, then they also invited them into the idol worship. Okay, and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's have sex with you, and might as well go, and have participate in this idol worship too." So naturally, God was angry with that. Verse 4, the Lord said to Moses, "Take all the leaders of the people, kill them, and expose them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the Lord's fierce anger may turn away from Israel." So Moses said to Israel's judges, "Each of you must put to death those of your people who have yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor." Okay, so Moses is saying it's time for us to judge these people and for them to be killed that were doing that. Verse 6, then an Israelite man brought into the camp a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel, while they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Okay, so these guys are weeping, these leaders are weeping because of everything that's gone on. And this guy comes unknowing what is happening here, but he's going to go and have sex with one of these Moabite women and just marches her right into his tent like there's no big deal. And a lot of times when we start to get involved with sin like that, what happens is we just end up thinking, oh, it's no big deal, and we'll do it in broad daylight or whatever, and not hide it from anyone. The sins that you were hiding before, now you're comfortable just doing out in the open. And can you imagine how appalled those leaders were? Like, we're battling this, people are dying, and this joker comes along and decides he's going to just go and have sex, and he takes the woman right into his tent there. All right. It says this: when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand, and followed the Israelite into his tent. He drove the spear into both of them, right through the Israelite man and the woman's stomach. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped, but those who had died in the plague numbered 24,000. Okay, these two people were in the midst of having sex. They weren't just standing up there and going, "Oh no," no. He killed them in the midst of their immorality. Okay, and just marched right in and did that. Verse 10. The Lord said to Moses, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites, since he was zealous for my honor among them, as I am. I did my part. I did not put an end to them in my zeal. Therefore tell him I am making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of lasting priesthood, because he was zealous for the honor of his God, and made atonement for the Israelites. This guy did a bold thing by going in and killing this. And you know what? You couldn't just go around just killing any old Israelite. But when he saw this immorality happening, and it was happening in broad daylight, and this guy was doing this just right out in front of everyone, he was angry about it, and he had the zeal for the Lord, it says, and he wanted to put an end to this, okay? And the way to put an end to it was to kill them, okay? And what would happen normally, if you killed somebody, that family could kill you, okay? But it didn't happen in this way because God actually stood up for Phinehas here. Verse 14. The name of the Israelite who was killed with the Midianite woman was Zimri, son of Sula, the leader of the of a Simeonite family. And the name of the Midianite woman who was put to death was Cosbi, daughter of Zur, tribal chief of the Midianite family. Okay, so the reason it tells the names here, these just weren't nobodies. This was an important person in Israel here, like the son of one of the leaders. And then this woman was the daughter of one of the tribal chiefs of the Midianite family. So both of these guys were recognized, okay? So it wasn't just nobodies, but they were prominent people here. And these prominent people were just out sinning against God right out in the open. Verse 16. The Lord said to Moses, treat the Midianites as enemies and kill them. They treated you as enemies when they deceived you in Peor incident involving the sister Cosbi, the daughter of the Midianite leader, the woman who was killed when the plague came as a result of that incident. He ends, this passage ends with that paragraph, saying how the Midianite and Moabite people, they were kind of allied at this point, did this to weaken the people of Israel. Okay, that was their purpose of doing it. They weren't like, oh, yeah, let's be friends and everything. No, they did it. There was a purpose as to why they did it. And they did it because they were enemies of Israel. And so God says they did this because they're enemies of Israel. Therefore, you need to kill them now. And so that's what happens here. I bring all this up. I read this whole thing to show you the person that stands out in this whole thing and is noted by God himself, okay, not just Moses, but by God himself, is Phinehas. And it's because he had the zeal for the Lord, okay? It wasn't just, he just didn't have zeal, okay, but he had zeal for the Lord. And he was willing to stand up and stand up for what's right here, okay? People were sinning blatantly right in front of the people of God, the leaders of God, and he was willing to stand up and put an end to it. We need more people like this today to stand up against the sin that's going on around us. Not necessarily going around killing those people, okay, but you need to make a stand about those people. And the big thing, it says he was zealous for my honor. Are you zealous for the honor of God? That's the question you have to ask. You know, or are you like zealous sometimes for the honor of God, or when it's convenient, or when everyone else is doing it? Notice he was the only one that did it. Okay, he was the only one zealous for God. Everyone else was standing around watching, and as this guy was very blatant about his sin, everyone else was watching. But he stood up and said, it's not going to happen anymore. We need more people like that stand up in the church, especially in the church, and say, that's not going to happen in the church anymore. All the immorality that's happening and the other sinful practices that are happening, we need to put an end to that, and we need people to stand up against that. So my encouragement for you today, you better be zealous for the Lord. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through the book of Numbers. Lord's blessing. I will see you tomorrow.